Look, some people just can't handle when women have standards. When you've got a tight group of friends who actually care about your future, apparently that makes us the bad guys. But whatever. I'm Cora, I'm 28, and I've never been one to apologize for having high expectations. Anyway, make sure to hit that like button if you enjoy hearing the real tea, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. So Russell and I had been together for 10 months when this whole mess started. 10 months of me trying to convince myself that a software developer who spent his weekends gaming was actually relationship material. I mean, the guy was decent enough, paid for dates, remembered anniversaries, all that surface level boyfriend stuff. But there was always something missing, like when my friends would talk about their guys taking them on spontaneous weekend trips or surprising them with thoughtful gifts. I'd just sit there thinking about how Russell's idea of romance was ordering my favorite takeout without being asked. My friend group, we called ourselves the Coven, and yeah, I know how that sounds, but we'd been inseparable since college. 5 women who actually understood what it meant to have standards. Clara was this brilliant marketing director at a startup, the kind of woman who could walk into any room and immediately command respect. Kai ran this successful fashion blog and had this incredible eye for style that made everyone else look like they shopped at discount stores. Darren taught yoga and had this whole spiritual wellness thing going on that attracted the most interesting people. And Caleb was a lawyer, sharp as hell, and never afraid to call out anyone's nonsense. Then there was Clay, who was different, quieter. Sometimes I wondered why we kept her around, but the group dynamics worked, so whatever. The thing is, these women had dated some incredible men over the years. Clara's ex was this entrepreneur who'd built his own company from nothing. Kai had been with this artist who'd had gallery showings in New York. Real, accomplished, passionate guys who knew how to treat a woman right. And here I was with Russell, whose biggest achievement was making senior developer at some mid-tier tech company. But they kept asking to meet him, and I kept making excuses. How do you explain to your successful, sophisticated friends that your boyfriend's idea of a perfect evening involves takeout and some new video game? How do you admit that while they're posting pictures from rooftop restaurants and art gallery openings, you're sitting on a couch watching him click buttons for hours? Finally, Clara cornered me at our monthly wine night. Cora, we've been hearing about this mysterious Russell for almost a year. When do we actually get to meet him? The others chimed in immediately. Yeah, what are you hiding? Kai laughed. Is he that embarrassing? He's not embarrassing, I said, though. Even as the words left my mouth, I wasn't entirely convinced. He's just different from the guys you're used to. Different how Mao, Darren asked, raising an eyebrow. Like different in a good way, or different in a still lives with his mom way. He has his own place, I said defensively. Look, you'll meet him soon. Okay, I just want to make sure the timing is right. But Clara wasn't letting it go. Next month, bring him to wine night. We promised to be nice. The way she said nice made my stomach twist, but I agreed. What choice did I have? So there I was 3 weeks later, standing outside this upscale wine bar, with Russell watching him tug at his collar, like the fabric was personally offending him. He'd tried to dress up, I'll give him credit for that. But his idea of nice clothes was basically the same jeans he always wore with a button-down shirt that looked like he'd grabbed it from the clearance rack. You sure about this? He asked for the 3rd time. I could just meet them some other time when it's not such a big group thing. They're excited to meet you. I lied smoothly. The truth was, I'd been dreading this evening for weeks. Just be yourself. Looking back, that might have been the worst advice I could have given him. We walked in to find my friends already settled at a corner table, 2 bottles of wine already down, and their cheeks flushed with that confident glow that comes from good alcohol and better company. Clara spotted us first and waved us over with this smile that I knew meant trouble. Russell, she called out as we approached. Finally, the famous boyfriend makes an appearance. He smiled and extended his hand for a shake, but Clara pulled him into one of those air kiss hugs that immediately made him look uncomfortable. The others followed suit, and I watched Russell's shoulders tense as he navigated the social ritual that my friends performed so effortlessly. So, Clara said once we'd settled into our seats, Cora tells us you work in tech. Software development, right? Yeah, that's right. Russell nodded, already looking like he was bracing for something. How practical, Clara said with that particular tone she used when she was about to tear someone apart. Not very creative though, is it? I jumped in quickly. Russell's creative in other ways. The look that passed between my friends made my cheeks burn. They'd obviously discussed Russell's other ways in detail during their pre-gaming session. Luna mentioned you don't do yoga, Darren said, leaning forward with fake interest. How do you manage stress? Gym mostly. Gaming, normal stuff. Gaming. Kai's voice dripped with disdain. Isn't that more of a teenage thing? What kind of games? Different kinds, strategy games, some action stuff. It's actually pretty diverse as a hobby. I dated a gamer once, Caleb said, and I felt my heart sink. He chose his PlayStation over couples therapy. Major red flag. The hits kept coming after that. Every single thing Russell said got picked apart and analyzed like he was some kind of specimen. When they asked about his 5-year plan and he mentioned hoping to make team lead, Clara actually laughed. How revolutionary, she said, not even trying to hide her sarcasm. But the worst part, I found myself agreeing with them. Sitting there listening to Russell stumble through their interrogation, I couldn't help but compare him to Miguel, my ex, who'd actually had ambition. Miguel had started his own consulting business, took me to amazing restaurants, knew how to dress. He'd had this intensity about him, this passion, that made everything feel electric. Russell was just there, steady, reliable, completely lacking in any kind of fire. The final straw came when Darren started reminiscing about Miguel's grand romantic gestures. Remember when he flew you to that wine festival in Napa just because you mentioned wanting to try that specific vintage? She said, looking directly at Russell. Some guys just know how to make a woman feel special. Miguel was intense, though, Kai added. Maybe too jealous, but at least he had passion. Some guys are just vanilla. They all looked at Russell expectantly, and I watched something shift in his expression. The polite smile disappeared, replaced by something colder. I need some air, he said, standing abruptly. Oh, did we hit a nerve? Clara asked with mock concern. Russell looked at me. You coming? And here's where I made the choice that changed everything. I looked at my friends, these successful, confident women, who'd been nothing but supportive of me for years, and then at Russell, who was clearly overreacting to some harmless teasing. Don't be so dramatic, I said, rolling my eyes. They're just having fun. At my expense? If you don't like my friends, that's your problem. The whole table went quiet. Even Clay looked uncomfortable, which was saying something since she usually stayed out of drama. Russell stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something die in his eyes. You're right, he said finally. It is my problem. He threw cash on the table for his drinks and walked out without another word. Well, Clara said after a moment, that was dramatic. The others laughed, but I felt a weird twist in my stomach. Still, they rallied around me, immediately validating my choice to stay. You dodged a bullet there, Kai said. Imagine being with someone that sensitive long-term. He couldn't handle strong women, Darren added. That tells you everything you need to know. By the time I got home 2 hours later, I convinced myself they were right. Russell had embarrassed me with his tantrum, made me look bad in front of my friends. When I finally texted him, I was more annoyed than apologetic. His response was ice cold. That was embarrassing. You made me look bad. You made yourself look bad, I shot back. You couldn't take a little teasing. They were testing you, and you failed. And you let them? They're my friends. They're protective. If you can't handle that, maybe you're not ready for a serious relationship. Maybe I'm not ready for a relationship where I'm the punchline. So dramatic. Sleep it off. We'll talk tomorrow. But Russell wasn't planning to sleep it off. He was planning something else entirely. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. My phone was buzzing constantly, and when I finally looked at the notifications, my blood turned to ice water in my veins. Someone had created an Instagram account called @ProblemSolver92 and posted a series of stories that were systematically destroying my friends' lives. The first story was a screenshot of Clara's Venmo transactions, payments to something called Miguel Birthday Fund, dated 3 months ago when Russell and I were already together. The caption read, "Interesting how some people buy gifts for their friend's ex while dating someone new, but the current boyfriend is the one who lacks passion." The second story showed old tweets from Kai complaining about her ex leaving her for some basic girl who probably shops at discount stores. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. She'd spent the entire evening judging Russell's Target jeans. But the nuclear bomb was the third story screenshots from something called Confessions of a Side Chick, an old blog that Darren had apparently written before becoming a yoga instructor. The posts were wild, detailed stories about seducing taken men guides to ethical non-monogamy. One titled, "Why Your Friend's Man Might Be Your Soulmate." My phone rang. Clara. "What the hell is happening?" she screamed before I could even say hello. "I don't know. This is insane. He's posting our private information. This is harassment." But it got worse, much worse. The final story was a simple message. Cora said if I don't like her friends, it's my problem. She was right. Problem solved. Then came the group chat screenshots. Russell had somehow found our private Telegram chat, the one we'd moved to for security, and joined it. Our entire conversation history was there for anyone to see. All our gossip, our mean comments about other people, our betting pool on how long various relationships would last, including the bet they made about Russell and me. Kai had put money on 8 months. But Russell wasn't done. He started typing in the chat in real time. "Hey ladies, thought I'd solve my problem directly?" The chaos that followed was immediate and devastating. "Get out," Clara typed. "This is illegal," Caleb added. "I can file charges." But Russell had done his homework. "Is it illegal, like Darren sleeping with Kai's ex?" That was Paul Wright, May 2019. Dead silence. What, Kai typed? Then Russell dropped the real bombs. Screenshots from Darren's blog with specific dates and details. Evidence of Clara borrowing money from me for her startup, but spending it on a Miami music festival instead of business expenses. Caleb's history of encouraging clients to lie during divorce proceedings. Within minutes, they were turning on each other. Years of friendship evaporated as secrets poured out. Accusations flew, trust shattered. And through it all, Russell remained calm and methodical, dropping fact after fact, receipt after receipt. "Anyway, problem solved," he typed finally. "Cora, your friends are exactly who I thought they were. Good luck with that." Then he left the chat. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Clara's startup investors pulled out when the financial irregularities came to light. Kai lost brand deals as screenshots of her old tweets went viral. Darren's yoga studio got review bombed by people sharing her blog posts. Caleb was put on leave pending an ethics investigation. And me, I became the woman who brought down an entire friend group. My phone buzzed with a text from Clay. I tried to warn them to go easy on him. "This is what happens when you mistake cruelty for strength. I'm done with all of you." Even Clay was abandoning ship. I tried calling Russell, but he'd blocked my number. I drove to his apartment, but he wouldn't answer the door. I sent emails, DMs, even tried reaching out through mutual acquaintances, but he'd vanished from my life completely. The worst part was watching my social media feeds. Russell had been methodical there too, screenshotting every mean comment my friends had made about other people over the years, every hypocritical post, every moment of cruelty, disguised as having standards. Clara tried to fight back with a Twitter thread about digital harassment and toxic masculinity, but it backfired spectacularly when Clay quote-tweeted her with the full context of what had happened at the wine bar. "I was there," Clay wrote. "You humiliated him for 3 hours, compared him to exes, mocked his job, his hobbies, his clothes. He posted public information you shared yourselves. That's not harassment. That's consequences." The thread got ratioed so hard that Clara deleted her entire Twitter account. My friends blame me, obviously. I was the one who brought Russell into their circle. I was the one who gave him access to their lives. According to them, this was all my fault for dating someone so unstable. But deep down, I knew the truth. Russell wasn't unstable. He was smart, smarter than all of us combined, and we'd underestimated him completely. The months that followed were a blur of isolation and regret. My friend group was permanently shattered. Clara moved back in with her parents after her startup collapsed. Kai was working retail while trying to rebuild her online presence. Darren left town entirely. Caleb lost her law license. And Russell was thriving. I found out through mutual acquaintances that he'd started dating Clay, the one friend who'd actually tried to defend him that night. They'd connected over shared interests in books and hiking building. The kind of genuine relationship based on mutual respect that I never understood how to create. I saw them once at a coffee shop downtown. They were laughing about something, looking completely comfortable with each other. Clay was wearing one of those natural, radiant smiles that I'd never been able to pull off, and Russell looked happy, genuinely happy in a way I'd never seen during our 10 months together. That's when it hit me. I'd had someone who actually cared about me, someone who was loyal and kind and decent, and I'd thrown it away for the approval of friends who turned out to be just as shallow and cruel as he'd suspected. But here's the thing, I still don't think what he did was right. Sure, maybe my friends were a little harsh that night, and maybe I should have defended him more. But destroying 5 women's lives over one bad evening, that seems pretty extreme. Look, I get it. He was hurt. His feelings were wounded. But strong people don't respond to social awkwardness with nuclear warfare. They handle conflict like adults with communication and boundaries, not with elaborate revenge schemes designed to ruin lives. The truth is, Russell showed his true colors that night. Underneath that quiet, nerdy exterior was someone vindictive and calculating. Someone who would rather destroy people than have an honest conversation about his feelings. So yeah, I lost my friends. And yeah, I lost my boyfriend. But maybe that's for the best. Maybe I deserve someone who can handle a little social pressure without turning into some kind of digital vigilante. I'm working on rebuilding my life now. New friends, new perspectives, people who understand that relationships require thick skin and that not everyone is going to love you immediately. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd left with Russell that night, if I'd chosen him over my friends in that moment. But then I remember how he handled the situation afterward, and I know I made the right choice. You can't build a future with someone who responds to conflict with destruction. You can't trust someone who keeps score like that. Russell may have won this round, but I know who I am. I know what I deserve. And it's not someone who would rather tear people down than lift me up. The coven is dead, but I'm still standing. And that has to count for something.